Today's episode of Rock and Roll Icons is brought to you by Dental Implants GPS. Many of you know I've had extensive issues with medical, and it's caused my teeth to decay. I went to Dental Implants GPS and they gave me my smile back. There's no cool factor involved with dentures. And these implants are incredible. If you're having issues with your teeth and you hate going to the dentist, give Dr. Baker and his incredible staff a call and they'll give you your smile back. Give them a call at 949-381-5418 and mention my name, Bodie, and you'll get a free Philips Sonicare air floss with your procedure. So again, their number is 949-381-5418. Welcome into another episode of Rock and Roll Icons. I'm your host, Bodie James. We're broadcasting from Redemption Studios in Big Bear Lake, California. And I'm telling you, today I am super honored. I have David Ellefson from Megadeth, somebody that I am just a huge fan of. David, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
I tell you, they say James Brown is the hardest working man in show business, but I think you've replaced him. Brother, you've got so much going on between autobiographies, a new fiction with Rockstar Hitman, your LP No Cover, the film studio, holy smokes, and your foundation, and the coffee. How do you find time to sleep, brother?
Well, you just drink a lot of coffee.
I have not had a chance to try that yet, but I'm going to be ordering some today because
yeah, I mean, I say we meaning me and Tom Hazard, because Tom has been the propagator of a lot of these things. I'll bring up an idea and he'll just move it forward, or we'll talk on the phone and he'll bring up an idea and I'm a guy who I like to talk about what I'm doing and what I did rather than what I'm gonna do. It's too easy for to just get ahead of yourself with that. And I think first of all, it's a team of people. It's not just me doing all of it. Obviously, there's a lot of heavy lifting. There's a lot of tireless back end work that goes into a lot of this stuff that obviously I don't have to deal with, would not be able to deal with, quite honestly, just because I'm busy, with Megadeth and other things. But I gotta say, this last year has been, the break from the road, as much as I love the road and I can't wait to get back out touring again, the break from that schedule has kept me pretty anchored kind of right here in this very room, the office in my house, where I, where a lot of this think tank happens, where a lot of the execution of this stuff happens. And, so it's been a good year, actually. Good use of what would otherwise be kind of probably a pretty crappy year, with the pandemic. It's been a good year to just kind of settle in, buckle in, roll up our sleeves and really work hard. And I think it's been pretty productive as a result.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Let me start off with the No Cover LP. I listened to it over the last couple of days and man, I was blown away by some of the stuff y'all did. I especially liked the Eat the Rich cover that y'all did from Crocus. Man, that was just full in your face.
Yeah, it's funny, that actually, we've kind of got two bands. The Ellefson band is essentially me, Tom, Andy Martingelli, our guitar player who lives in Italy, as well as our drummer, Paolo Caridi, who is also Italian, and then Bubblefoot. And so, we started the record, obviously, with that core. And then guests, we just invited some guests in because our friends are all sitting at home this year or last year as well, Yeah. But when we tour here in America, we tap a couple of guys, Christian Lawrence on drums and Dave Sharp on guitar. And they're in another group on Combat Records called Dead by Wednesday out of the Connecticut area. And they actually brought that idea over to do Eat the Rich. And, you know, I agree, a great song, great band. You know, my first experience with Crocus, I saw them open for Pat Travers and Rainbow, probably in about 1981 or 2, maybe something like that. They were on a record called Metal Rendezvous, kind of a scrappy, you know, little European band no one knew of, you know, and I loved them. I thought they were so cool. And then, you know, a couple years later, of course, they come out with Headhunter and all the big hits, you know, and so got to see a band, you know, kind of make their first appearance in the USA, probably a little untriumphed, you know, because again, they didn't really have the hits. And then they tap, I guess, Tom Allom, you know, who produced all the big Judas Priest records in the 80s. You know, once he got in the mix, really lined those tunes out and, you know, really brought the band out, you know, and brought the songs out. So, you know, fun song to play. Everybody knows it, you know.
Yeah.
Great rock and roll anthem, you know. So I think, you know, it's funny, that one and probably Fastway. Look, I got a copy of it. Probably that and Fastway and maybe Love Machine probably are the sort of bookend of the final years of the, you know, kind of the early 80s, if you will, mid 80s. And then as we went back into the 70s, obviously with Kiss and, you know, and, you know, I guess Nailed to the Gun with Fight would probably sit at the end of the.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Yeah, but then to go back and then into, you know, Wasted and Holiday in Cambodia, Free Will Burn and that stuff, kind of the, you know, early 80s, late 70s. And then, you know, to dig into kind of the earliest of the 70s with Swede, BTO, Nazareth.
Nazareth's a great band.
Yeah, so it's, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of, it was fun to, you know, really probably about almost 2 decades we covered in there with that.
Yeah, you did. And the thing, one of the other songs I really dug was Sheer Heart Attack by Queen. It's a deeper cut and it's a really edgy tune and you guys made it even edgier. It was so cool.
You know, the main thing with this record was I wanted to stay true to the arrangements. I wanted to stay true to the, you know, to the parts that were played. You know, there's only a couple of deviations. One is in Rebel Yell, where I think coming out of the first chorus back into the reintro, Andy plays kind of this major key lick that isn't, you know, on the original. Steve Stevens didn't play that, and I kind of let Andy slide on that one because it's a cool lick, and it's got a, you know, it's an Andyism, and you know, it's you know, it's him, and let him shine in that moment. But you know, for the most part, I mean, we meticulously went in. I mean, even like Sweet F.A., I was saying to Andy, I said, you know, because Todd Kearns did such a great job singing that.
Yeah, he did.
And I said, man, we got to get that keyboard part in there because that's a huge part of that sweet sound. They, you know, them with the Moog keyboard. You know, the Moog is this new discovery back in the early 70s, you know, with Styx and Sweets and all these guys, ELP, I guess, too. You know, and even, you know, just all of it. It was really in the detail, you know, to really dig in and really nail the detail of these things. And yet give it the production of a modern day record in 2020, you know, when we cut it. So yeah, it was fun to do that. And I think, I'd like to think we really stayed true to honoring the song, you know, almost as if, you know, if Sweets and Queen went in and recut those tunes today using modern amplifiers and, you know, the modern technology in the studio, that's probably what they'd sound like. You know?
Oh, I think so. Have you gotten any feedback from any of the original bands on the
I have. You know, it's funny. Tal Bachman is a friend of mine who has his own career with that big hit song "She's So High," and so is Randy Bachman. I got to know Randy years back in the 2000s. I actually jammed with him at a NAMM show, probably 2007. Probably would have been like this week. There's no NAMM's virtual this week, but I got to play bass for him. We played American Woman and Take Care of Business, you know. So that was kind of my fan moment where I got to play with my hero, kind of the guy responsible for getting me into this whole mess called the music business, you know, because I was such a BTO fan of the Not Fragile record. But yeah, I got it over to them, and they sent it over to Fred Turner, and Fred actually wrote "Not Fragile." It's his track that he sings and wrote on the record, and they all gave it, horns up, so that was really exciting, to hear that. Let me think, who else? I did get it over to some, Tear It Loose, obviously Eddie Ojeda from Twisted played on the record.
Sure.
We did send Eat the Rich. Funny, I did send it over to Mark Storace, the singer of Crocus. I sent it. It was his birthday, and I said, "Hey, happy birthday, by the way." Did a little honorarium to you and the guys. So he loved it. He thought it was very cool, and so he gave us, thumbs up back. So,
that's great. That's got to be fantastic validation, especially when it comes from guys that were your heroes.
Yeah, and I mean, that was kind of the thing, is I knew these guys were probably going to hear this, you know what I mean? Because they are my friends, a lot of these guys. So it's, it was important to, for me to, for me to, do them justice, obviously, with the song, but also, even with the cover, the Def Leppard, I've talked very openly about how important that Def Leppard record was for me. In my musical trajectory, Judas Priest Unleashed in the East was really probably the first metal record I heard when I was about 15, kind of coming out of the, FM hard rock bands of the U.S., Aerosmith, Van Halen, Boston, Kiss, that stuff.
Yeah.
And then that Unleashed in the East record hit the turntable, and it was like, whoa, that was a hard frickin' turn to a new frontier. And, then behind it, I started getting into, Sabbath. Funny, my Sabbath, as much as I played Paranoid in some bands growing up, back in Minnesota, I wasn't that familiar with the Ozzy era until the Ozzy record, Speak of the Devil, where he did all Sabbath covers. After Randy Rhoads had died and Brad Gillis was in the band. For that record. And so my kind of first introduction, aside from Paranoid, was really more the Ronnie James Dio era, with, I remember when Heaven and Hell came out, it's like, whoa. I mean, it was such a powerful sound. The production was great. And Ronnie, of course, was just amazing. And so between that and Scorpions Love Drive, and then that Def Leppard On Through the Night record came out. And so that was just a period in time. And, and it's funny, I've learned, some people have criticized me, oh, you're not a Beatles fan, or, what about Zeppelin and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, look, I was born like the year the Beatles came out. I completely missed them. I have done my homework on them, and obviously we're all fans of songs from the Beatles, but Kiss were my Beatles. You know what I mean? They were the four, superheroes that changed my life, in the way the Beatles changed a lot of lives for people, including the guys from Kiss. So I've learned, you can't fault somebody's musical tastes based on the year they were born, because we have no say in the year we're born.
No.
That's one of these things in life we have no say in. And, so when we're born, we're kind of put into the earth at this certain moment, and there's stuff culturally going on around us, and music is a part of that. So I think it's what I find fascinating about musicians and artists is, their work reflects sort of a culmination of what they grew up with and the things that were around them, as that influenced them as they became artists in their own right.
Yeah, I can completely relate. I was born in '62. Kiss was huge for me.
Right.
And when I went to work for Ace, let me tell you, that was one of those moments like you were talking about with Randy Bachman. It's, it's so surreal. It's an out-of-body thing, and you're looking down at it. You're like, how did I get here?
It's funny. Ace played a solo for me and Frank Bello on our record, Altitudes and Attitude. And, Frank had been around the Kiss guys probably more than I have, just sort of working with them, even on stage, jamming with Ace. And I think they did a Eddie Trunk Christmas party or a birthday party with Peter Criss and all this stuff. So they've kind of been around that a little bit more than I have. I mean, Megadeth, we've played with Kiss a lot, but that's sort of Megadeth doing our show, and then Kiss comes out and does their show, So I've had probably maybe fewer, interactions, especially with Ace. So, but it was, while we're on an email, on one hand, it's like we're all grown-ups, we're all professionals, we talk to each other like just professional musicians, But then there's that moment where Frank would hit me on the side and go, "Oh my God, dude, it's Ace. Run an email with Ace, and should I say this and should I say that?" Kind of like like Wayne's World. You think he'll be mad if I say this? Is that okay? You know what I mean? And it's and Ace is so cool, and he's rock and roll. Yeah, so it's funny. You start thinking like a fan more than just
absolutely.
And you realize, when you're in the room, like we're all just musicians, man. Some of us caught some breaks and got famous, and maybe made a couple of bucks doing it. But at the end of the day, man, it's like we're all in it just because we like playing music.
Exactly. It's that passion. You mentioned the crazy music business, and you have your own label now with Combat, and you also spoke about the guys in Dead by Wednesday. Yeah. That is a band that I think is on the verge of blowing it wide open. They are so damn good.
Yeah, they are good. In our record label, the business has changed so much. Look, major labels put a lot of money into young artists because that's where the timeline is longer to develop somebody. Influencers are usually younger. Record buying, and I say record buying, now it's mostly digital and streaming and stuff, but the music consumers trend toward the younger people, especially with new music. All of us consume music, of course, but I'm talking about brand new artists are usually supported by younger fans. So, with Combat and EMP, we found a nice niche where we have been able to support a lot of our friends growing up. We took a chance on a couple of younger groups, Dollskin and Cage 9 and a handful of good groups. Dollskin has since moved over to Hopeless, so I feel good about that. That was actually a production deal that I did with them, and for that very purpose was to EMP was just sort of a stepping stone to get them up and running. It's funny, the EMP was to me what Combat Records was to me with Megadeth. EMP served that same purpose with Dollskin and a few groups to get them sort of on the road and ratchet them up, and then hand them off to to another label who can who's got all of the other mechanisms in place. And so things like Dead by Wednesday, we've been able to give them a platform to get their music out. It gives them a platform to tour, to have some proper promotion and publicity maneuvering, and so that stuff's important. So having a label still does give validity to your work, and anybody who's tried to just self-release something and throw it out there, even you just put a Megadeth record in a bin and no one knows about it, no one buys it,
Exactly.
But because it comes out with such fanfare, that's what drives people to say, "Hey, new record here," So
right.
Really, that's what a record label is. Record company is there to help sell and market and promote a product. So it's been good to have that to help a lot of our friends out.
Sure. What do you think the biggest lesson is you learned as an artist that you've carried over into being a record exec?
Well, the first thing I said to Tom is I said, "Listen, man, I want this to be an artist-friendly thing. People know me, they trust me. I've done good by people where I haven't. I've tried to clean up those messes, and then,
Sure.
and I want to try to finish strong and finish good, So the music business is less about music and more about relationships, period. Just like anything, you get into real estate, it's not about selling houses, it's about relationships, you know what I mean? And building, that sort of, people build trust with you to handle the transaction. And, music is very much the same. So I think for me, to venture over into the business side, it was at least publicly. I think I've always been in business, but to do it publicly with a record label and a coffee company and these things, it's like, first of all, have a product people want, and then that they trust you that you're going to handle it properly, you're going to handle them properly, and so I think that's and I think also realistic expectations. This is a different era, where, the type of records we put out, the type of license agreements we do. It's like, look, man, there isn't going to be a private jet pulling up to your house with a limousine to whisk you off to your fame and fortune. A lot of these are legacy artists: Mark Slaughter, Ron Keel, Hellstar, these things we've done. And it's a way to sort of keep them on the highway, keep them going, and I think we try to just be real straight with everybody. It's like, look, man, this is what this is. This is modern day record business we're dealing with here. Unless you're 18 and super cute or the latest craze of the day, teeny bopper, like, that you want to make real money, go do that. But it's like, you reach a certain threshold. Once you hit about the age 26, 27, you're already out of that game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think a big part of it is just keeping people realistic. And again, the seasoned professionals like we work with, they are, they know. So, I know that it's one thing to get a bunch of money and have somebody do nothing. That can be nice for a while because it pays your bills, but then you wonder why your record's dead. Or, we say, listen, let's work together and we'll do our part on this. And Tom's great at that, really blowing stuff up and giving it a big look and bringing attention and awareness to things. And that helps better with your shows, your agency, your merchandising, and, making a spectacle out of it. I mean, look, that's what showbiz is, man. It's about blowing shit up and fireworks, That's what we're doing here,
Yeah. You mentioned doing right by people. I know that kind of goes back to recovery and your faith, and you and I share the same faith. I make no bones about the fact that I'm a born again believer, and if people don't like me for it, that's their problem. I know at the end of the day who I want to be aligned with, and I as a matter of fact, today I'm 600 days sober. And,
nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
The best thing ever in my life, man. If it weren't for a strong wife, I'd still be using,
Yeah.
But I was going to ask you on the whole thing with heroin and the whole 9 yards that you and Dave were doing. Do you think did you find, like I did, that it made you angry? That it just took you to a whole different place, and maybe that was what.
Well, look, heroin is a very dark, insidious drug.
Yep.
It's like a lot of sinful behavior. It all looks good on this side of it until you get involved in it, and you're like, "What the hell did I take this dance for?" And we all know. I mean, come on, we've all heard the stories. Most of my punk rock heroes all died of heroin overdoses, so it's not like I didn't know. It's not like I went, sorry, I'm getting a cough drop here. It's not like I went, "Hey, no one told me.
Yeah,
heroin's bad for you." We all knew, Part of why we did it, you know what I mean? But
exactly.
And I think it's part of what goes with the rock and roll culture, because rock and roll, by its nature, at least it used to be very counterculture. It's not so much anymore. Hell, once a Hard Rock Cafe came around, now it's family entertainment. It became Disney,
Yeah.
But real rock and roll, and I'll call it real rock and roll for this conversation, back pre things being corporate, it was very counterculture, and kind of like being in a bike club, like a motorcycle gang.
Oh yeah.
So what came with it, with the, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, let's just call it that. That's what it was. It was a counterculture movement. And I think as, look, I knew, they told me in high school, don't smoke pot. It could lead to this. I found alcohol was the gateway drug for me. As soon as I drank, then the door was open to the weed and all the rest of the stuff. So it was only a matter of time where I started drinking at age 15. By 23, I was strung out, and I was just like, like something's got to change. I mean, I wasn't that worried about dying, because you're young and you don't really, the concept of death doesn't really hit you, I don't think, at that age. At least it didn't for me. But I think I always say my spirit died before my body died. Meaning just sort of, I was just corrupted, from right and wrong, and what's the benchmark of sort of truth and reality, and full flight from reality, if you will. And I think that's the insidious nature of those heavier drugs like that, is that, it gets you to believe this lie, like, oh, the artists and poets take this. And what they told me was, hey, if you want to be great, you got to do this, and then listed off a bunch of people who were dead from doing heroin. You know,
Sure.
Hendrix, Joplin, Sid Vicious. Yeah, they were great.
Yeah.
Wait, you didn't? That's right. They're dead. That's, you know, so. And we can laugh about it now because we're on the other side of it, but and those of us who've been there, we share a kindred spirit. You know, recovered addicts, you know, we do have a kindred spirit about us, because people that aren't addicts by nature, alcoholics by nature, and were able to stop or moderate, they kind of look at people like us like, what the hell's the matter with you guys? Why'd you go there? And for whatever reason, we went there. You know, we kind of jumped the fence and went out into the, you know, into the wild, woolly part of the forest, and got beat up and chewed up pretty good. Yeah. And for those of us that made it back, excuse me, we kind of get to live a second life in one lifetime. You know,
absolutely.
We had that life. And then we kind of get to go up, mulligan, reset button, and then we get to start this next life moving forward. And, you know, it took me about 1.5 years to get clean from the first time I went to rehab right after we played Castle Donington Monsters of Rock in August of 1988. And ironically, today's the 33rd anniversary of the So Far So Good So What record. And that was a record where we were pretty deep into it, and you know, the drugs were there; they were always around. From a previous sort of lineup, a lot of the harder stuff came in, and you know, for me, I you know, it took a while to crash and burn, but boy, once the wheels came off, they came off quick, you know, and it really
the truth.
And I tell you, nothing messes up your drinking and drugging more than going to rehab. You know, when you go to rehab, and you're faced with some harsh reality. And I tried to leave rehab and go get high again, and it just didn't work. I'm like, it's like this mirror of truth is right here staring at you all the time. You know, you're like, hey, get out of here. You know, go away, conscious. You know, I don't, you know. And I think that's what probably, until I got clean in March of 1990, that's what that 1.5 years was, you know. And then during that time, we wrote the Rest in Peace record. Fortunately, we were sober and we were clean when we recorded it, which is why I think it sounds good and it's played well and it's got ferocious. But like you said, you know, I got clean and I was still angry. I was pissed off. I mean, all of a sudden, because, you know, heroin and those kind of things and the oxycodone and the pills and stuff, they sort of put a lid on that. They sort of capture things down. They lock it down. And then when you take those drugs off, out comes the beast, you know, and it's like, you know, I was pissed off for the first couple of years, probably threw up until we recorded and toured Countdown to Extinction. I was just kind of a raving lunatic, you know, because it's just learning how to live life, drug and alcohol free. Unfortunately, the cravings were gone, and it's sort of that had been lifted from me, fortunately. But you know, getting out on the road and touring and trying to live a sober life on the road. And I remember my first counselor guys, he goes, some people get on an airplane and they leave town and suddenly they're not sober anymore. You know, the little cart with the little soldiers comes by and it's like, I'll take some of those, you know, I'll have a vodka, you know. So, you know, he goes, look, your faith is wherever you take it. You know, if you want to take your sort of concept of a higher power, God, with you, he'll be there with you. If you want to leave him at home, well, good luck. You know, have fun out there, but I wouldn't expect it to last long. So I was given some good pearls of advice and good wisdom. And, you know, a lot of the people that were, you know, our manager Ron Lafitte, who helped me get clean. I mean, I really give him a lot of credit for just really saving my life, because he told me, he said, look, I'll if you want to get clean, I will drop everything and help you, but you got to want it for yourself. And he was real direct, and he did. He helped me get all the help I needed and got clean and put good people around us. And of course, he was kind of mentoring under the Aerosmith manager at the time, who would help them get clean. And, you know, a lot of the, you know, music business was like, we're done putting millions of dollars behind drugged out rock stars. Those days are over. Either get it together or there's the door, you know. And that message was very clear to me by 1990. It's like, either sober up, get with the plan, or you're going to get left behind. So I had to make the change.
And I tell you, I admired knowing and reading about the fact that you went to seminary, because it obviously wasn't easy from what you described in the book. You got a little blowback from the church, more so than you did from the fans, which is the exact opposite of what you'd expect.
Well, here's the thing. So I grew up a Lutheran kid on the farm, nothing fanatical. I mean, everybody was. We are just kind of a Judeo-Christian. Everybody's either Lutheran, Presbyterian, Methodist, or Catholic. It's just kind of what the Midwest was, because we're basically all from Europe, and Europe is pretty much in a post-Christian community, Christian world, as is a lot of America. But those faiths came over, from Europe, when we settled here in America. Continued through most of the 20th century. Historically, it's funny, I was talking to my pastor, did a study on this, and historically, from about age 16 to 26, most people kind of stray away from church. They just do. They're growing up, maybe they start partying, going to college or starting careers, whatever. But then kind of about the time they get married, start having kids, settling down a little bit, trying to, then they put some sort of framework of maybe some religion around that. And the same could probably be said for, my family as well. But, I didn't really have so much of a born again experience as much as it was just sort of a, when I was getting clean, when I went to rehab, it's like I started seeing the whole thing about higher power, and it's like, all right, I know what this is. This is like, knock it off, grow up, kind of start praying again, get back to your faith. And I always say, be careful what you pray for, because when you call the big guy in, stuff starts to move, and as soon as I prayed, man, drug dealers went to jail. Not that my prayer sent them to jail, but it's like, it was amazing the moment that I got sort of pulled back from the fire, and some guys that I knew, suddenly got arrested, thrown in prison. And I was just kind of going, whoa, like, on any other day, I might have been at those houses, and that could have been me. And I started to see the significance of, it's weird. I prayed, partly to a God maybe I don't know, like, believe in, want to hang out with, but I just prayed and shit happened. Like, stuff started to go in a new direction. And that caught my attention. Going to seminary was largely because, there was this very clear, it seemed to me very clear, moving to the suburbs, where most of the more conservative people live, and that's fine. It's nice neighborhoods here, right? And I don't really get into political stuff, because that's your own belief, kind of like your religion, it's your own belief. But I started to notice that there seemed to be this sort of thing like, well, if you believe in God, maybe the best way to say it is, when I went into recovery, they said, find a belief of your own understanding.
Yeah.
So I did. And then suddenly the church people started saying, come over here and get our version of it. You need to believe this way.
Right.
So I went over there and I went, oh, that's not what they told me over there. So, you know what I mean? And so I kind of stuck over on the other side going, well, this is kind of what I, sort of, it seems like it's kind of my own sort of concept of this and my own belief. So I stayed with that. It seems to have worked in the last 30 years of being sober. So I've stayed with that. Same time, I was told to keep an open mind to things. And, I guess I'm kind of a seeker by nature. I think it's part of being in the creative realm. You're always sort of a seeker. You're seeking new ideas, new things, be open to ideas, be open to collaborations, be open to things. So I could, I think I'd probably identify myself as a seeker. I'm not sort of a staunch conservative and that this is what I believe. It's all I believe. This is the way it is. I'm pretty open-minded to just kind of keep exploring. That to me is the thrill of life. So with that said, when I went to seminary, I just come back to Megadeth. I knew we were going to be on the road a lot. And my pastor he said, hey, they've got this program. It's an online thing. And I've done all my college studies online. And the reason is because I went to the Scottsdale Community College here when I first moved here in 1993. And I thought, it's a little time off. Maybe I'll take some classes. I walk in, the first guy I see, he's got a Megadeth shirt on. I'm like, all right, well, this isn't going to work. Because the band's pretty popular. We just moved to town. And I was uncomfortable with it. I was like, yeah. So I started doing it online. And in fact, actually, Dave Mustaine he started a class through University of Phoenix.
Okay.
And so then I explored that. So I did one. I did a couple, actually. And then I picked it back up again in 2000, finished my undergrad degree. So because I had the undergrad, I could go explore the seminary thing at Concordia Seminary in St. Louis. And that whole year that I did that was really just studying the narrative of the Bible. like really got to understand from Genesis to Revelation what the story is. And so I'm glad I had it. My pastor even said, he goes, I wish everybody could have that understanding.
Yeah.
Because it would just give you a much better, clear understanding of what the story really is, And the Lutherans are pretty right up the middle. They're not witch burners. They're not fanaticals. They're not hands-on healing and, this kind of stuff. Which is fine by me. I don't need any crazy fanatical stuff. So
no, I'm with you.
Yeah. So for me, it was really a great year, to just do that. And I wasn't planning to go off and be a pastor. I mean, look, if it happened, great, that's fine. I was just kind of like, hey, take it day by day, see how it goes,
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, at some point I had to make a decision because the seminary is going, hey, so like, how long are you going to be in this rock, man? Because if you're going to be a pastor, like you can't do both. And I said, well, I feel pretty convicted. My calling is, I'm a rock and roll musician, and being in Megadeth is part of that story.
Sure.
So if you're giving me the ultimatum, I'm gonna pull back from seminary, and I did. I just said, yeah, look, great, it was fun to explore it, got the understanding of the Bible, but I started reading the Bible because I'd never read it before. As I read all the Bible stories and stuff as a kid, but I never read it cover to cover. So I started reading it cover to cover in probably the late 2000s. And so I did the seminary thing. I think it was 2011 and 12 when I did that. And, I never agreed that politics should bring religion in because, first of all, it's not constitutionally correct. And then as I read the Bible, I realized it's also not scripturally correct to try to bring, I think people that day thought Jesus was going to come in and save them from Rome and their problems would be solved. And he's like, I'm not here for that. Like, I'm here to save your souls, not save your ass,
Yeah, exactly.
I made it pretty clear to him. So I think, again, to me, church and state are very separate of that. And I have a very clear understanding of that. And I feel pretty convicted about that. So when I see these groups trying to bring that over, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Slippery slope. Don't go there,
I'm with you, man. And I find it's far more important to be spiritual than religious. They're diametrically opposed more often than not.
It's funny. I went to a church in New Jersey, and the pastor said it. He goes, people ask me, am I religious? And he had a great point. He goes, I'm religious about, like, every morning I wake up, I have coffee, I eat my breakfast, I surf, whatever it is he does. I'm religious about that, meaning I do it, all the time. It's but as far as faith and that, there's some religious things I do, with that. I read the Bible, I go to church, but what is the religion thing? And I love how he broke that down because I thought the same thing. Like, look, religiously, I get up, I have coffee, I go to the gym, I play my bass, I work on music. That's my religion, and I also pray, I read the Bible, I try to help addicts, I do those things. That's part of the growth. And so it's all part of that, and so, I don't know, I think the whole thing of you have to subscribe to a certain religion, like I said, I'd sort of found my belief. It was sort of between me privately, the Bible even says, go into your closet and pray. Don't do it on the street corners. Don't do that stuff. And it's funny, when I went to the Wailing Wall, in Israel and up in
Jerusalem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great part. Yeah, because we went to Tel Aviv. That's what I was thinking. We went to Tel Aviv, and then I was like, where did we go after that? Because we did a little tour. Went up to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And I saw people at the Wailing Wall doing that, kind of like doing that whole thing and praying out loud. I was like, that's where that came from, Yeah. So, to me, religion is a private thing, or, your religion, your faith, your spirituality, whatever it is, it's a private thing. It's not meant to be a public thing. And believe me, I've had pastors and people who tried to bring me into their marketing plan of, let's get the rock star on stage and have him tell his faith. And I said, and I always stop and go, that's not what happened to me. It's not how it went down. So, no, I'm not going to stand up here and sort of propagate the success of your church and the offerings this week by, parading the rock star around as like some kind of a, marketing angle for your church. It's like, that's not, and I think the words is pretty clear about, like, don't do that. Like, go to your private closet, and this is between you and God as you would understand that.
That's right. Well, you mentioned helping addicts. You also help kids, man. the Ellefson Youth Music Foundation, which for everybody, you can find it at ellefsonyouthmusicfoundation.org. Great, great program, man.
Mm-hmm.
And you even, during 2020, started doing free music lessons to displaced kids by coronavirus. Are you still doing that?
We are. It's kind of settled down a little bit. I mean, initially it was a pretty big thing because we're all going, what the hell? Like, what's going on, And once we started seeing the kids shut down, I just remember as a kid growing up in Minnesota when we had snow days, and get out of school, you're like, yay. But after about 4 snow days in a row, you're like kind of starting to lose your mind. And you could see the pandemic was shutting schools down. Kids are going to be home, driving their parents crazy. Kids losing their minds and just going, what do we do? And so, we started doing it. In fact, right here, this monitor here that I have on the wall was part of a program, a grant that we got from Cisco, to be able to have this software and hardware available to us to do these lessons and to to step it up and do it in a pretty cool way. So it's really been a great thing to do. And anybody who teaches, and I'm not historically a music teacher. But a couple things that happen when you teach. First of all, it reinforces your own knowledge of what you're teaching. Excuse me. And the other part of it is you realize that you get so much back yourself, just from there's a humanitarian, there's, in your spirit, your soul's kind of working with another soul, helping them come in, and you see their lights come on, and go, oh my God, now I know how to do that. Yeah. That's such a joy, to see that happen. Sure. Because it's, when somebody's sort of struggling, figuring something out, and you're able to sort of methodically walk them through that to get to a solution on the other side is just a great feeling, to do that. So yeah, the foundation has really been a blessing, for us and a lot of people.
How do people like programs and kids? How do they get involved? What's the process?
EllefsonYouthMusicFoundation.org is the website. There's a little donate button on there. Of course, we're always, as a nonprofit, we're always fundraising all the time, but that's one way. We are not currently doing the lessons right now here in the new year. We did quite a few. We had a lot of our friends kind of pitch in and help out as well. And quite honestly, because we had those friends available who were kind enough to donate some time and resources to that, there's a lot of them ended up on the No Cover record as a way to, create something together too. So, 2020 was a year of really, I feel like in our Ellefson wheelhouse, we're kind of gifted with some opportunities to really keep our community connected and keep fans who are musicians connected and keep us all connected in a time that seemed like kind of trying to split us all apart with the pandemic.
Yeah, it's a great thing. I mean, Alice has got a great program too over there by you. Yep. And does phenomenal things with kids. And
I mean, look, at some point, it's the one thing we can all agree on. We were all kids,
exactly.
At one time, I mean, we were all, and a lot of us, we were musicians, we were young musicians. Yeah, Alice's thing with Solid Rock Teen Center that he has is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Been working very hard for a lot of years, raising money for that, and they got that up and running. And they've got some incredible talent out of there. I mean,
isn't that the truth, man?
Kids are just phenomenal, play circles around the stuff that me and my buddies could play when we were kids growing up. So, it seems to be working.
Yeah. I also mentioned at the beginning, Rockstar Hitman.
Yeah.
I wanted to read the book really bad, but a good problem for you is you can't find the damn thing anywhere. It's sold out.
Yeah, well,
it's incredible.
Yeah, no, it is good. And so through Amazon, of course, also bnn.com, which is Barnes & Noble's portal. That's the best place to buy it, and then just have it delivered to your house.
They were both back ordered by like 4 days.
I know. I ordered some hardcovers because we did some, author autographed ones. It took me like 3 weeks to get them. You know, we ordered them back in December, and I didn't get them until like middle of January. I just literally just got them last week and blew right through them. So, yeah, it's a fictional autobiography, and of course it's, you know, it's a thriller for sure. It's I think it's got a nice levity to it. Our character Sledge has a great kind of, you know, he's young in the book, so he's kind of figuring it all out, and at the same time, and so I think it's got a nice humor to it at times. So I think we hit on something. You know, I'm already working on the second book, and we'll probably push that out probably sometime this summer. So, you know, with the Ellefson Book Company now, we've got this, you know, this portal set up, and I've had people come to me to say, hey, can I put my book out through your portal? And you know, so it's just a great way to, you know, because a lot of people, they'll write something and they just don't know how to get it out to the public. It's just It's like musicians. Hey, I got these songs. What do I do with these? How do I make a record? How do I get it out? I think for a lot of us, the satisfaction of creating something is only one part of it. It's the seeing it through to the end so that the public can hear it, see it, read it in this case, and hold it in your hands. And I feel like my years of, you know, doing this over the years, and, you know, our team that we have, we're able to help a lot of people do that. And I think that, you know, creative people like to feel the sense of completion, sort of the validation that their work got completed and they got it seen through to the end.
Yeah. So how long did you play with the idea before you actually put pen to paper on it?
Well, I've written a handful of books. My first book I wrote was more of kind of a how-to book called Making Music Your Business, Guide for Young Musicians. So I started writing that in 94 on the Euthanasia tour, 94, 95. And that published in 97. And then I wrote Unsung Words and Images, which was a poetry and lyric book where I set some lyrics that I had to photograph images, and I self-published that through Blurb, which is a great product, but very expensive. Blurb is, especially for that, something like that was pretty, you know, photograph intensive. And then I wrote My Life with Death. I did two memoirs, two autobiographies. My Life with Death in 2013, I think, came out. And then More Life with Death came out in 2019. So, yeah.
Both outstanding, by the way.
What's that?
Both of them outstanding.
Thank you. Yeah, so I've got, you know, quite a bit of experience writing.
Yeah.
I always wanted to write fiction, you know, and I was just looking for the idea. And it hit me last year when I was on tour about this, you know, espionage of, you know, rock star who signs this bogus contract, and there's a lot of truth in it. So, and then ends up, you know, selling his soul to, you know, essentially kind of a, you know, a clandestine organization, and now he gets to be a rock star and a hitman, you know. So so it's a lot of fun, and we, you know, we've dubbed it the Sledge Chronicles because, again, we see more books in the here.
How far do you see it going? Because that was one of the things I wanted to check with you, man. I'm so stoked to read it. I can imagine it's going to be
you know, look, give it a read and let me know. I mean, you know, look, I think we've got, you know, you know, look, as the rock star goes on tour, you know, more creepy people to get rid of along the way on the tour, you know. So the world's a big place, and the world tour lasts a long time. So I think there's all kinds of good little, you know, espionage and cleanup work we can have him do.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be exciting. I can't wait to get the copy.
Yeah.
Back to the coffee. I was really interested. I mean, I've been toying with the idea of opening up a rock and roll coffee place and having all the different rock stars' coffees in there, which I think would be a killer thing.
I'd love to be part of that with you. That sounds fun. Yeah.
I'll have to reach out to you. But it was so cool. You've got great coffee brands like the Roast in Peace and the Napalm in the Morning, and then you even partnered up with Skid Row and Autograph, which I thought was just like a smoking cool idea, man. How did you get into it?
Well, you know, that was, you know, we call ourselves, we're a rock and roll coffee company. That's what we do. We're not trying to compete with Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts, and those guys are off in their ethos doing their stuff. We're a rock and roll coffee company,
Yeah.
So Roast and Peace was it's our flagship roast. It's an incredible, sells very well. Kind of built the fortress on that. That's our first hit song,
Yeah.
And then, we started roasting for our friends. People decided, and Autograph have done very well with it, actually, because, like we told them, said, look, we're a roaster. We've got a handful of retail outlets. Our D2C, our sort of direct to customer, business is real good, especially during the pandemic with this Amazon sort of mindset that, just order it online, have it delivered to your house. So we do quite a bit of that business. The thing with the rock bands is it's like, hey, this is an opportunity to have another merch item at your merch table.
Sure.
So, so that's another outlet where they can sell it themselves and kind of have that, next to their T-shirts and hats and stickers and pins and beer and hot sauce, so you can have coffee and whatever else they sell out there. So, yeah, it's really it has been fun. It's been a really cool adventure with a lot of our friends.
Well, I really like it. I'm looking forward to getting some. Tell me about Dave talked about the new tentative working title for the album. Mm-hmm. And it's, gotten kind of mixed reviews like you'd expect, you can't please everybody. Do you think that'll wind up lasting, or do you think it'll wind up changing up?
Well, like Dave said, when he announced it, he goes, look, we usually end up changing the title 4 or 5 times before it finally goes to market. We had a saying back in the old days, nothing's final until it's on vinyl.
Yeah.
So everything can change,
No.
Probably short of the name of the band, everything can change,
Right.
It's, it's all just a work in progress. And I think that's the beauty of the creative world is, people want to know answers. Like, what does it sound like? Does it sound like this album? Does it sound like that album? And it's like, hey, man, can't really tell you. It's a work in progress until it's done, and then once it's done, you'll hear it, and then we'll all have a little talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Dave has already said that it's that he thinks it's right up there with Countdown and Peace Sells and Dystopia. I mean, he's set the bar pretty high. It sounds.
I would agree. I would very much agree. I mean, look, Megadeth has done a lot of stuff over the years. Some fans go, "Oh, dude, make it thrash," and we do. Dystopia proved that. But you can't just be a one-trick pony. We've never been a one-trick pony. Even the earlier records, "Killing Is My Business" started with a piano.
Right.
Peace Sells had a song on it called "Good Morning," which went into Black Friday, was basically kind of an acoustic guitar bit,
Yeah.
We've done, a lot of different stuff over the years. So, with Megadeth, you get a lot of diversity, and, the musicians that are in the group, I think we challenge each other, we raise the bar for each other, and it just inspires us to, to keep creating next level stuff. So,
yeah.
I think that's kind of the beauty of what you get with Megadeth is you get a lot, you get a pretty big bang for your buck, I think.
Oh, I think so too. Megadeth, I mean, everybody seems to split somewhere, either Megadeth or Metallica. I've always fallen on the Megadeth side because you guys are so versatile. It's one of the things that I really love.
Yeah, I mean, look, I love Metallica. I'm a fan of theirs, have been from day one. When I met Dave, I'd never heard of Metallica, so I was introduced to No Life Till Leather through him.
Yeah.
Both his songs and the other songs, I like what they do. But yeah, I mean, I can just speak for Megadeth. We have always had a pretty deep level of musical proficiency. From the very first recording lineup with Gar and Chris. They were, extraordinary players, and that, again, the die had kind of been cast from the beginning. With that level, and then all the guitar players that have come along have been incredibly, gifted players, and the drummers, the same thing. So, it's nice that whatever we write, we can play.
Yeah.
That if we can think it, we can play it and make it a reality.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Is there one particular Megadeth song that you play that stirs up more emotion for you than any other?
You know, I always say my favorite song is the one you guys like the best as the audience,
Yeah,
because that is the reality. I think when you're a performer, that's kind of, man, whatever lights the room up, that's the one we're having the most fun playing and everybody's rocking out to.
yeah,
Holy Wars, Hangar 18, Symphony of Destruction, Peace Sells. There's kind of the obvious ones there. And then it's fun to go down into some other stuff. It's been fun to play Conquer or Die live.
yeah.
Dave and I sit back behind the amps and we just kind of sit and towel off and kind of regroup ourselves and in our in-ears, hear Kiko out there playing, and I'm a fan of Kiko. I love hearing him play. It's like when Trans-Siberian Orchestra comes into town, I always go and watch Al Pitrelli play. I just sit in the audience as a fan and watch him play, and he's such a great rock star, and he's just such a sweet. That's just a home for him inside of TSO. I just sit and watch him, just going, how lucky was I to get to play with that?
Yeah.
I mean, look how great he is. So. That's kind of how I try to appreciate everybody's, what they're gifted with, and, to be able to play with these guys, like Kiko and Dirk and Dave, and, it's just, it's a blessing every day, to just go, man, how cool is this? I get to do this today,
Yeah,
so
no kidding.
Yeah.
Now, I know you guys toured with Motorhead fair amount. Is there and let me just add, it would have been his 75th a couple days ago. Is there any one particular story about Lemmy that sticks out in your head from your time with him?
Look, Lemmy was a badass, and Lemmy was a guy that when he walked in the room, everybody, like, the room changed. I mean, he truly was a star, and, it's funny, we had a show early on with them. We were supposed to do 5 dates when the Peace Sells record was coming out back in late 1986. And they had these train tracks. The drummer, Pete Gill, I think it was, so this would have been an Orgasmatron. And they had these train tracks on the stage so that the drum kit would go from, in the sort of, upstage position to the right behind Lemmy's, mic stand, and he'd come out and do this drum solo, and then the drums would come back. That was it, right? These train tracks prevented us from being able to set our Gar's drum kit up in the middle of the stage, and so there was a big discussion. Obviously we were not happy about it. Look, it's Motorhead. They're the headliner. But hey, man, we're bringing our own punch with this. And so the managers got into a big fight. We did 2 shows, and then our management pulled us off the dates, the last 3 dates. And I'm not going to lie, there was a rift between Megadeth and Motorhead for many years over that. And one year, we were going to play Grass Pop Festival in Belgium. And this would have been probably, 2001. I think. And I think it was 2001. I might have the year wrong, but I think it was 2001. And the promoter came to us. There was a headliner, and then it was Megadeth, and then it was Motorhead in front of us. And the promoter came to us and said, "Listen, guys, Motorhead's bus broke down. They're not going to be able to get here in time for their set. If they don't show up, I can't pay them. Would you guys switch spots with them for tonight's show to just help them out?" And we said, we agreed to. We said, yeah, no problem. Look, it's Lemmy, it's Phil, it's Mickey. We'd known Mickey. He was the drummer in King Diamond. So Mickey had played in King Diamond. We did, right before that, a little Motorhead incident on an Orgasmatron. We did a little summer run in the U.S., King Diamond and Megadeth, right before the Peace Sells album came out. And so we got to know Mickey and stayed friends with him. So we did. We switched spots. Right as we came off stage, the Motorhead guys, Lemmy and Phil and Mickey, were just getting off the bus, walking into the dressing room, and they were pretty shot out. They were pretty beat up. You could tell that the air conditioning broke. It was summer. Like they were kind of disrupted. Wow. And they were very gracious. They said, "Man, thank you for switching spots. We really appreciate you guys doing that." And it's funny, the feud was ended right then and there, so it was really cool. And Dave and Lem always got on well, man. I mean, Dave and Lem are, you know, they're fucking rock icons, you know. And so it was great. And I ended up doing the Motorhead cruise, the motorboat cruise that they did.
Yeah.
We launched Metal Allegiance on their cruise.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then Phil, he came to, was on the Megadeth cruise. I think it was the Bastard Sons, Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons. So they played on the Megadeth cruise last year. So yeah, I mean, a lot of good miles between us, you know.
Yeah. Well, what's next? I mean, we all hope 2021 is going to bring touring back, and I'm sure dates are getting booked at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's
yeah, I mean, that's yeah, exactly. Look, Megadeth, we're working on the record. We've got tour dates posted, published, you know, the good Lord willing, they'll happen.
Yeah.
And if they have to be rescheduled, then we just take that card as it gets handed out. With Ellefson, we're working on a third album now.
Wow.
I'm always working with people on some other stuff. Just because I like to collaborate and have different outlets and various things out there. You know, again, I'm working on Sledge book number 2.
Yeah.
We've got the Dwellers film, which is coming out through Ellefson Film Company. We're going to premiere that at MadMonsterCon in Charlotte, North Carolina, coming up on February 19th.
Wow.
So that's coming out. Yeah, so it's good, man. Just, you know, it's kind of nice to just always keep stuff kind of pulled up to the starting line, you know. So all you got to do is just pull the gun and fire it off the runway, you know.
Beautiful. Well, man, I'm looking forward to seeing y'all when you're in Irvine, which is near my second home. So I've already got tickets and I'm held on to them. I can't wait to get there. So,
good stuff.
Man, I thank you very much. This has been an absolute joy for me. And I hope you'll come back again.
Of course.
All right, man.
Give me a few months to get some more stuff done, and we can come back and talk about that.
You got it. And I'll let Jody know when I get the coffee and how everything's going with that, man. So,
sounds good.
Thanks,
awesome. May you roast in peace, my friend.
You too. Thanks a bunch.
All right.